My name is Anil Raja and I head up the legal team at Next. We get involved in all areas of the business, including with our brand partners and the new businesses that we've acquired. I started at Next in February 2003, so I will have been here for 20 years. And I started here as a specialist IT lawyer, doing just IT contracts. And over the years, my role has just changed and expanded to what it is today. My parents came over to the UK in the 70s from East Africa. They came over as immigrants when they were kicked out of Uganda by the regime of Idi Amin. I didn't even speak English. My parents didn't speak English. I'm Indian, I'm a Hindu, and we learnt English just from going to nursery and picked it up from there. I grew up in inner city Manchester in a place called Cheetham Hill, and in the late 70s and 80s there was a lot of racism. It was the rise of the National Front, and the racism was very blatant and in your face. So I remember being told to go back to certain countries that I'd never even visited or that my parents weren't even from, and that racism really followed me through to school and college. There's one experience in particular that sticks with me, which is when I went to get careers advice at school, and I went along with my friends. I was the only Indian, they were white British, and we all went to explore a career as lawyers. And we said, maybe we'd like to be barristers, and academically we were at the same level. And the leaflets were given out to my friends, and to me, the careers teacher held back the leaflet and said, "Are you sure? This really isn't for people like you." And it was just so shocking, and it stayed with me today. And so I followed a career in law expecting to face racism. And actually my experience at the bar and at law school was the opposite. It was probably one of the most inclusive professions I could have chosen. If I'm honest, being told it's not for you and knowing that that was based on my race kind of gave me the attitude that I'll show you. You know what, I'm not even sure I wanted to do law, but I think I was so driven to prove that it is for people like me that I think it definitely did drive me. And being faced with adversity, people can either back down and not follow their dreams, or it can inspire them to try even harder. And luckily for me, at that time, it inspired me to try even harder. When I first got involved in Unity, I was thinking, well, Next could do more. And then I started to look at what Next is doing. And actually, do you know what? As a business, we're really modest in that we don't shout about our, the achievements we've made. And if you look into it, actually Next has done a huge amount for inclusion. And I think we should be proud about that and speak out about that more. I know that when I was recruiting for the legal team, that comments we got from people we were interviewing is, when we asked them, why do you want to join Next, is because they said Next is such a diverse business. So I think what can we do more? We can shout out about how diverse we are. So I think that's a real plus point that we don't advertise enough. So I think we should definitely promote that more. Unity is so important for Next because we want to recruit the best people, and so I think if we can see our biases, and it's important to look, if we can see our biases, then we can move past our biases. And if we can move past our biases, then we've got a bigger pool of people to choose from. And we can then choose them based on their skills and their qualities, not based on race, religion, ethnicity, and it gives us the advantage of having access to the best people out there. I experienced racism in temporary jobs that I've had when I was very junior. And I remember I worked for a bank as a temporary worker once and was told, that I shouldn't be there because I'm taking the jobs that are for other people, and it was so blatant. And I remember sitting there and nobody around me saying anything, they're just laughing. And I was really shocked because as an adult, since that time I've experienced very little racism. But I remember there was an Indian lady in the corner who was trying to catch my eye, and she came over to me later on because when I was told that I was taking people's jobs, you know, I had a bit more confidence then and was able to speak back and say, I'm definitely not taking your job because you're too stupid to do your own job, which probably wasn't the right response, but it really riled me to think that I shouldn't have a job because of the colour of my skin. And this lady came up to me and said, thank you, I've been wanting to say that for years. So you know, there are people at work who are faced with racism and are just too frightened to stand up. Nowadays, I think the culture has changed completely, and comments like that I don't think would be tolerated in any business. But in those days it was tolerated, and it was a challenging time. Yeah, for me it was my dad, because when I grew up, he was a business owner in Uganda and he lost everything. He had to leave the country with nothing. So he came to this country, he didn't speak English, his qualifications that he had weren't valid, and still he managed to get a job and to raise us. And when faced with racism, I remember walking down the street and somebody coming up to him and just racially, you know, like verbally abusing him. And I was shaken. And to be honest, if that happened to me today when I was walking down the street with my son, again, I would be shaken. I wouldn't know what to say. And my dad just stood his ground and said, no, I have a right to be heard just as much as you. And the person that was shouting the abuse just stopped in his tracks. He wasn't expecting a response. And so my dad's driven me to really just to stand up for myself and do what is the right thing to do. So he's definitely, you know, even now when I think about should I be doing this, I often think, what would my dad do? The way I see myself getting involved is, you know, sharing openly like this, in the hope that by me sharing my experience will give other people the courage to share about their experience. And if other people share about their experience, then we can understand. Like, I grew up as an Indian boy in Manchester. I have no idea what it would have been like to grow up as a black person in this country. But if we can learn about other people's experiences, we can connect better with them, we can be more compassionate, and I think we will just be a much stronger business by understanding the people we work with, understanding our suppliers, understanding our customers, and I think that's the way forward.